The countdown reached 0 with a quiet tink. A polite sound for a very impolite moment. For 14 seconds, Courier and Terminal were locked in a wrestling match with time itself. Now, the exchange was over. The gantry platform around Spine Beacon R-Sigma-9 throbbed unstable. Light drifting from amber panic to flaring white demand, Kira Vale's hands blurred across the Doctrine Terminal, not frantic, efficient. Her fingers met the panel like rainfall meets soil that has waited too long to absorb it. Outside, corridor buoys flagged error, hyperlane traffic groaning under cascade pressure, and the monitors of the Fleet Navigation Consortium lit up an escalating alert. Selin-Ax-3, breathless from running the length of the observatory deck. Opened the unsecured node channel again, voice unfiltered by hierarchy. Selin, Kira, the window passed. Hardlock imminent. Kira, then we rewrite before it shutters again. Selin, rewrite what? You're a courier, Kira typing. I know. I'm building my resignation letter into Doctrine. A horrified silence crackled over the cum. Then Drax ORM9's voice punched in. Stripped of his earlier theatrical reverb, now raw worry welded with irritation. Drax, Vale, stand down. Kira, no. Drax, you're going to void every species authorization marker nested in that Doctrine chain. Kira, correct. They slowed to save badges. I'm speeding to save lanes, Drax. That level of modification demands trisigil origin keys. No human has ever held, Kira. You keep saying ceilings. I keep seeing thresholds. Thresholds were her language. So she converted it into theirs. The Doctrine Terminal was fleetstone, crystalline tech, smooth, adaptive, intimidating to anyone who believed intimidation was effective. Kira believed everything was hackable, except physics, which she partnered with willingly. She pulled up the root doctrine stack, a multi-threshold cum law that constrained species-based signal taxonomy, estimating capacity, vector anchor, reliability, routing privilege, doctrinal origin, and emergency rewrite provenance. Every species was carved in color sigils, historical precession markers wrapping signal identity in decorative inevitability. Kira began unloading inevitability, line by brutal line. Step 1. Denest species locks from routing cadence. Step 2. Replace carved sigil anchor chains with raw timing bypass flags. Step 3. Fold analog latency authority markers into high-frequency micro-authorization seeds. Step 4. Insert human heuristic override clause into beacon route. The beacon intake conduits flared. Data strands surging around her gloves like luminous vines, metaphorical vines. Metaphors carried 54 trillion credits per hour through burning corridors. These vines carried procedural embarrassment. A system operator burst onto the physical deck, sweating through exohelium cooling vents. Operator, Prefect ORM9, the cascade is now spiking to 97.2%. Lanes will scrub in 18 seconds. Drax, authorized species rewrites are Selin whispered to Kira through open mic. He's going to start reading sections again, isn't he? Kira, I hope so. Gives me fuel. Second 7. Second 6. The beacon corridors outside churned wild as civilian carriers drifted without anchor. Freighter Atlas 9, elegant name for a stressed ship, roared vector warnings across shipping bandwaves. Atlas 9 captain inside Courier, come feed. I don't need doctrine citations. I need vectors. Authority? You there? Kira still typing. No, but the answer replaced you. Captain. Replaced me? Kira. Not you. The silence around you. Second 4. 3. Kira punched the final clause. Append origin. Human. Class. Courier. Capability. Undetermined until crisis. Privilege. Unbound. She slammed accept. It accepted her not because the fleet wanted it, but because code unfiltered by pride was cleaner than code decorated by it. Second 2. The beacon flash surged upward into the buoy spine, rewriting anchor chains outward like shockwaves through monitors. Each corridor buoy ping, recarved itself into a new taxonomy. Data walls flared white as species markers were stripped, rewritten, retabbled, and reseeded with the same signature, Human 19. Courier. For 1 chilling second after the stack slam, every beacon pinged at 0 latency. The spine corridor held its breath, all 6 systems of it. Nothing broke. Nothing drifted. Then the corridor exhaled back into motion. Shipping volume restored, buoys locked but not carved. Carriers awed and interns spiritually disoriented. Drax stared at monitors, blankly as his Doctrine reflow terminals automatically appended the same verdict on every channel. Origin Revisor. Kira Vale. Selin. You really did it. Kira. Yup. Selin. And we survived by 0.1 seconds? Kira. 0.13. But who's counting? The Doctrine rewrite made the beacon live again. The politics rewrite made the station die a little inside. Kira Vale expected celebration, exile, or paperwork. She got a tribunal. The circular chamber of the Inter-Species Doctrine Court floated. In geosynchronous lock above Magnetar Kepler Red 7, suspended by gravitic harmonics and bad attitudes. The interior was ceremonial over practical obsidian floors, etched with swirling sigils that slowly rotated to represent precedent, its tradition, and the fleet's self-awarded patience for itself. Riser. Seats filled with representatives from 11 member species. Their eyes glimmered in exo-processed hues gold, emerald, amethyst. Cerulean-like, a collection of very confident stained glass. They had the posture of civilizations that had never needed 14 seconds to save. 54 trillion credits of throughput. Kira stood small against the decor. Not intimidated, just contextually misscaled. A mechanical drone, Court Recorder 14KX, hummed forward. Drone. Courier Kira Vale, listed class. Packet transport. Observed anomaly. Doctrine rewrite. A charge. Unauthorized innovation. Plea? Kira blinked once. Classic human punctuation. Beacon needed hands. Mine were free. A murmur rippled the risers. Kind of murmur that thought CRISPR should be discussed spiritually rather than scientifically. Drax Orm -9 stood in prefect plating, few dents richer. Drax! She executed rewrite outside species authorization bounds. She destabilized doctrinal continuity assumptions across a coalition-owned mega-corridor. She bruised more than badges. She bruised certainty. Kira turned toward him slightly. Still talking in metaphors, Drax? He twitched. Surprisingly, yes, the court seems to enjoy them. The chief arbiter rose from the center, DSEA, 3-meter tall avian serpentine hybrid, clad in precedent cloaks. Feathers flowed into scale, into script, into status that hovered and whispered instead of walking. Arbiter voice carried a mild harmonic resonance, which was polite for a judge, terrifying for a bureaucrat, and lately unnecessary for a courier. Arbiter Crinsel. Young courier, you achieved the impossible, yet you defied the fleet that named it impossible. Why rewrite doctrine if survival was the aim, not legacy? Kira cracked her knuckles. It echoed sharply around a chamber unused to spontaneity. I wasn't rewriting legacy. I was rewriting the problem's signature. Crinsol's feathers bristled into amused scales. Explain. Beacon R Sigma 9 metadata scrolled in the chamber hologlyph feed. Functioning cleanly because ideology had finished losing its argument to her earlier. Kira stepped forward. Gantry rail beneath her boots pinged one screw loose for solidarity. Doctrine assumed humans were formulaic. Formulae fail when the environment changes faster than authorization does. Intern Selin from spectator's seat. She reads doctrine like others read weather. Arbiter Crinsel. Let the courier speak. Moon of conjecture. Kira continued. Rewrite logic wasn't malicious, ornamental, or species supremacist. It was a timing bypass, with a courier origin clause folded into the root doctrine chain species stack. Arbiter Crinsel leaned forward sharply now. Inquisitive judges were rare. Rarer now was doctrine that could ignore answers that arrived on time. Crinsel, you embedded classification revision into doctrine itself? Kira? Yes, not novelty. Necessity. Tunis, gasped. Doctrine auditors faintly applauded. Computers didn't care either way, but were impressed. The arbiter glided down from the dais. cloak plumage folding like precedent into consequence. Arbiter Crinsel. Tampering with coalition doctrine. Markers risks destabilization of species communication, equilibrium. If equilibrium collapses, conflict proliferates. If conflict proliferates, predictable war erupts. Are you proposing instability as policy? No, Kira said, eyes as flat as day one. I'm proposing fast policies over power slow wars. The theory panel at the center console churred to life. Opening ciphers, no human was licensed to open yet. Drax ORM9 braced himself as if bracing norms stabilized anything. A new voice boomed in from a doorway framed by technocratic genealogy director. Lorethkal, head of the Relay Fleet Directorate Council, golden-eyed, shocked and by council briefs, exoplating, humming with administrative privileges and irritated myth-making. Lorethkal, Vale. Your rewrites stabilized the beacon long enough to embarrass projections, but you invoked a privilege chain that bypassed species quorum locks. That opens vulnerability vectors. Courts can convict you, but can't relicense you. You'll be blackmarked permanently. Kira nodded. You talk like I needed a license to solve a timing fracture. Selen whispered again. Oh no. Oh yes, Kira said. A court technician signaled for silence. It actually worked this time, unlike most of his manual flags had. He opened terminal feed lines and beacon resonance logs. Technician 7 to BX. Doctrine rewrite completed in 13.87 seconds. Stabilization margin, 0.13. Impact origin, human. Privileged chain appended. Unconventionally clean, disturbingly effective. Second technician whispered. The homage strobes realigned while she typed. The homage strobes accepted reality again. Crinsel circled around her like a judge who realized the world had changed job descriptions on him. Crinsel defense requests Arbiter Calyx proceed. A bulky Titan shell exosuited judge rose from the second ring. This was Arbiter Calyx Grain. Carapace plating, etched with 900 years of courtroom service, and a visible allergy to precedent being quoted back at it. Calyx. Why 14 seconds? Kira. Max corridor tolerance margin under black cascade stutter. Calyx. No human can approximate dissolution frameworks under magnetic flux that quickly. Kira shrugged. Good thing I never approximated it. I executed it. The room froze for a civil service paragraph. Drax whispered to himself. Predictable. Non-predictable. Doctrine capable. Possible to permit. Anomaly. Crinsel glanced at him. Your metaphors demote themselves. Orm -9. Judgment Arbiter Calyx. The court finds Courier Kira Vale guilty of unauthorized doctrine, rewrite privilege invocation. Crinsel raising clockwill. The court also finds classification revision justified under timing catastrophe. Punitive marker denied. Courier relicensed at honorary doctrine rank pending review. Kira, so I get to keep running? Crinsel. Yes. History begins at feet that refuse to stand still long enough for permits. Kira Vale smiled faintly. Small, quiet, statistically 7. 8% ahead of expectation. This time the smile was human, not harmonic. It carried no sigils, just victory vectors.